Something needs to say hello to me. Do we live? I'm going to assume we're living. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Hello, check, 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 check. Check, check, check. Sound is good. All right, great. Woo. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Monday, or now the only day of Mike's AMA. Been an interesting week, to say the least, folks. It has been a heck of a story. I'm going to have some major news for you guys in about a week. Probably the biggest single piece of news I've ever given any of you guys. It's good news. It's very, very happy news. But you guys need to brace for a big one. It should be something, to say the least. I don't even want to give you a clue, because if I give you a clue, you'll probably guess it. But exciting things are happening. It's so exciting I have to sit down today. I'm also sitting down because I finally got my knee back in order, and I'm going to be back at the health club tomorrow. I don't want to mess it up. But yeah, should be some interesting stuff, to say the least. Do keep in mind, guys, we are down to once a week. The AMA is only Mondays at 2 o'clock Central Time. So I have skipped the Wednesdays going forward. Do join us on the Discord channel. Dave Rush will have linkings for everybody, for those of you who have interest in heading that direction. Jose Braden, good to see you, man. But yes, I have some really, really exciting news to share with you guys. Even Dave doesn't have a clue what I'm talking about. And it's very, very exciting. It's going to take me about a week. I might be able, yeah, well, I won't be on again until a week, but if those of you on Discord, you guys might be able to check me out. But yeah, stay tuned. By this time next week, is there any reason I wouldn't give that announcement by next week? Yeah, it's huge. I got some bad news too. So, you know, one of the nice parts about having you guys in these types of forums is I don't have to have polished products to present to you guys. And that's actually part of the fun for me, is sometimes things go pop and skip, and that's all good. So I was queuing up on OpnSense, just, you know, trying to get a few labs ahead to make sure everything's working. And I suddenly found up a nightmarish error with OpnSense, in particular the way that it has a particular plugin called FRR that it uses to emulate RIP and BGP. It doesn't even do OSPF, which is disappointing, but OSPF isn't that common of a dynamic routing protocol anymore. So I was perfectly happy working with RIP and BGP and ISIS or ISIS or whatever you want to call it. I call it ISIS. And so that's okay, but I was a little disappointed. So in the meantime, I'm prepping for other labs and, you know, drawing up my PowerPoints and everything. And so, you know, guys, keep in mind, my goal for using virtual machines to learn networking is A, to understand virtualization, and B, to understand networking concept using inexpensive to free software to do the stuff that normally hardware would do. So I'm going in with OpnSense, which I've used a few times before, but I've used OpnSense primarily like in my house as a primary firewall, more than anything else. I mean, OpnSense and Tomato and all these tools really are first and foremost, more than anything else, they're software firewalls. Nothing wrong with that. But that's really not my initial goal with teaching networking, is I want to get into routing more than firewalling. So, okay, you know, compromises will be made. I'm perfectly okay with that. But so as I was tweaking up for today's lesson, I started finding myself in OpnSense having to drill down in weird ways I don't like. Now listen, folks, I'm going to tell you right now, anytime you move past the basics of configuration on any type of device, heck, this doesn't even stick for just IT. Try to do the same thing in, I don't know, silk screening or embroidery. Whenever you start bringing other machines into play to automate processes, you get complexities. And that's just, you know, part and project. Thank you for liking my web. Yeah, I've got a lot of web stuff. But there's a certain point where the tweaking starts to become, when tweaking becomes, most of the time, when you run into a situation where you're trying to do something you understand conceptually, but there are issues that have to do with this particular make and model of device, usually changes you make are either going to be done through a hardware bias level and they're a one-time thing and you never even think about them again. That's one. Turning on CPU VPN, virtual machines, for example, would be one of those. The other type you run into is stuff that is just a different way to interpret how other people look at things anyway. We see this a lot with like VLANs, where especially somebody who's raised with Cisco VLANs immediately starts looking for things like dynamic desirable configuration on a per port basis. Whereas if you take a look at some of the tools we have around here, we use tagged versus untagged. And that drives some people crazy because, you know, when we set up a trunk, we never thought that we could say a trunk, but for only certain VLANs. So that drives people crazy. But there's a type of setting that I just hate. I hate them more than anything else. They shouldn't exist, and they do. And these are settings that you end up, it's like, okay, the water isn't hot. Oh, okay. Well, if the water isn't hot, turn the light switch on and off 6 times. These are configurations, and I've seen these for 40 years. Some kind of configuration on a router or a switch or a PC or a video card or a color printer. I don't care what it is. Where you have to do something bizarre to get something that should be straightforward up and cooking. But I can even tolerate those if they're like a one-time thing, you know, or I do some weird, okay, so the hot water isn't hot, flip the light switch on and off 6 times to the tune of Ode to Billy Joel, and it works. But what I can't tolerate, what I absolutely refuse to tolerate, is when I get settings that make absolutely no sense that I have to do every time I turn on the damn machine. And last week I ran into this with OpnSense. In particular, the way OpnSense allows me to do static routes has changed. It was a little weird before, but now it is so bizarre that I just got frustrated. Can I make it work? Absolutely, I can make it work. But the problem is, and we got to go back to the original concept with virtual machines. My whole goal of showing virtual machines, number one, to make sure people understand how virtual machines work, okay? And then number two, to be able to do stuff for learn about networking using free to virtually free software versus hardware. That was it. If it reaches a point where configuration becomes so messy that I'm no longer allowed to be able to do that, well, then I don't want to do it. I'm not saying that I won't use OpnSense in a production environment. I absolutely will. I have no problem with OpnSense. What I cannot do with OpnSense, and I've known this for about 5 days, it's been frustrating, is that OpnSense is basically useless as a training tool. That was a hard one for me to wrap my head around. In order for things to be a training tool, the tools have to work pretty much clean like they oughta. And when a tool gets so confusing that we spend so much time down in the gators explaining why Mike has to type in some bizarro netstat command or click on some settings on a very non-standard graphical interface, or worse yet, do something on a GUI, switch to a command line, run something in the command line because the only way it works is in a command line. There is no GUI setting for this particular thing. Well, the benefits of using virtual machines to teach about networking begins to fail horribly. I've given up on OpnSense. Now, keep in mind that in these last few days, I've been playing with some other tools, but many, many years ago, 15 years ago, I this question came up with someone you guys know too. And he was like, you know, Mike, why don't we use virtual machines to teach networking? In particular, this was a big deal for us because we were still doing road shows. And it was a real pain in the rear end to haul a ton of switches and routers, wireless access points. Wouldn't there be some kind of cool way where we could just put a virtual machine on these computers and do this? And the answer was back then, you can't. You just couldn't. Things like OpnSense didn't exist. So we gave up on it. So every few years I would try something new, and I think we'd get there and get there. And kids, it's happened again. I was convinced, after much experimentation and playing with tools, that I could make these things work. And I can make them work. They can work. I can make them work. But they're so ugly. They're so non-intuitive. They're so confusing that in my goal and motivation to teach you guys something that's relatively simple, BGP is not that complex of a protocol. Seriously, okay? Heck, honestly, in some ways, I would say RIP version 2 is more complex than BGP. That's my opinion. But when the configuration devices, in this particular case, OpnSense, become so bizarre, the switching between command line versus graphical, the creating settings, i.e. either in the GUI or on the CLI, that make absolutely no sense for what you're dealing with. Now, I should have picked up on this. OpnSense is not a router. It has routing capabilities, but it's not what it was designed for. OpnSense was designed to be a firewall, and it is a heck of a firewall, folks. And I'll tell you, if you ever need to replace an inline firewall that comes from your ISP's box for something of your own, I can't recommend OpnSense enough. Robust and tough. The downside to OpnSense more than anything else, in my opinion, is that because it's BSD based, it still seems to have a bandwidth issue that I'm not a big fan of. So I'm going to bail on this. I don't like where it's going. I've got a couple more software pieces I want to try. I was thinking about Fortinet has one that sounded kind of interesting. And there's a few others out there.
Here's eBay.
Here's eBay. I don't know why it's talking to me. I don't like it to talk to me. So I'm going to bail on this. I am really unhappy. I need a better tool than OpnSense. Something that's look. I'm not looking for perfection here. Okay. I just don't want to have to flip light switches to make a toilet flush. That irritated me. Mr. Derby01, pfSense uses the old BSD kernel, not OpnSense. Oh gosh, Mr. Derby, I'm going to have to pleasantly and with the most respect I can disagree with you. I've been working with OpnSense aggressively for a while here. So let me see what other people are saying. Mr. Derby01, if you have more information than me, I'm always glad to learn from somebody else. Let me see where we're at. No, I am not retiring. Guys, I'm not retiring. That's not it. It's better news than that. Yeah, I did drag out that last one, didn't I? Forgot about that, Vegas, but I promise not to drag this one out. I am not retiring. I don't want to live in French Polynesia. I'd live in southern France, though. Hey, Steve G. I'm all caught up on Picard. Oh, you didn't see the last episode, Dave. It's a good one. Great Mike Strong, yeah, absolutely. It is a Razer mouse. Yeah, but we did go down a couple of episodes like this too, but the problem wasn't in that case OpnSense. God, I don't think it was OpnSense that time. Oh well, we'll see what happens. But anyway, so number one, it kind of leaves me in a spot now where I'm not sure what I want to be talking about next week. I'm going to do something easy, some kind of slam dunk. I'm not sure what it is right now. Mike is becoming emperor. No. It's really easy, guys. Here, I'll give you a clue. You guys want a clue? A cat is moving in with me. There you go. A cat is moving in with me. That's the clue. May I ask what type of monitor you have? Shoot, I don't even know what kind of monitor this is over here. It's an LG. Yeah. It does kind of look like a big old heat sink. It's an LG, it's a 5K. It's a pretty good monitor. I'm happy with it. I'm going to leave you guys in suspense. Tolowit and Andre, Patricia, you guys can guess. Mail order Russian brides. By God, that's you guys got me figured out there. Now I'm going to get me a good Belgian girl like Andre did. Yeah, so we did have an issue kind of similar to this last year, but it wasn't OpnSense. I could have sworn it was pfSense we were using that on, but I'd got all these things working. I just don't remember having all these levels of complexity. And again, I don't mind complexity. Complexity and configuration is just something that happens. But when I'm trying to teach you something, and we have that level of over and over complexity, it's very frustrating. It is funny, Will, you said mail order Russian bride. It seems like the vast, and no offense to my gals out there, but what was I just talking about? Oh, it's like all my American buddies, Yeah, I got one set of guys who are all married to Russian or Eastern European women. I got another set of buddies who are all married to Thai or Filipino women. And I got another set of buddies who are married mainly to Chinese ladies and stuff like that. And it's like there's very few men in my age group who are married to Western women anymore. I don't know. I'm not making any judgment. I don't care how or why it is. I will tell you it is statistically interesting to me that I have very, very few male friends who are married. Some of the guys who've been married to their first wives, some of those weirdos. But the vast majority of my male friends here in the United States are married to foreign women. Just, again, making no judgment. Well, Andre said, get a nice Ukrainian lady. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. CGPT. Yeah, one of these days I'll have to find somebody. Yeah, I don't want to give. We're talking about way too much. Does foreign to Mike mean from outside of Texas? Yes. I'd take a gal from Louisiana or Arkansas, but baptize. Do networking geeks accept default dynamic routes via network discovery or static routes more preferred? Baptize, or is it baptize or baptize? It would depend where it's happening. Default dynamic routes via network discovery would be acceptable if I was connecting to somebody else's network. I might have to talk to the guys on the other side to make sure we're, playing the same game there. But in general, If I'm connecting to somebody else's enterprise, I'll take whatever dynamic stuff connects, usually make a phone call to double check, and does that sound right to you guys? Yeah, that sounds right. Go ahead and go with it. Within my own internal networks, unless I have something where I'm again leaning on somebody else, then I would almost always use stationary networks for the most part. Boy, that's a very tricky one to answer. It really would. It's a case-by-case basis. It really is going to depend which one's going to allow me to stay up longer more than anything else, or it's going to have enough flexibility. We'll see. Yes, I'm going to merge with the machine, Tolowit. I will become one. Resistance is futile. There you go. You've been watching some Star Trek. I just, when using OpnSense or pfSense, mainly OpnSense, recently, I don't even know what do I use. Oh man, such an interesting, frustrating. One moment, please. So the NIC that I grabbed from my settings, if I'm actually using the bridged adapter, I'm going to just, mine just says Intel Ethernet connection. I'm just using whatever comes from the factory there. I don't really worry about NICs. I'm still in a 1 gigabit world. I know a lot of people have moved into 2.5 gig. I haven't done it yet. It's expensive. We'll see. All right, well, guys, do keep in mind, one of the big things that's come along here is that the Discord channel is up and moving. We no longer have a Wednesday. From here on in, it's going to be Mondays only. This will be your only opportunity to talk with me. However, do keep in mind, I am now appearing back on the Discord server a lot more than I used to. I may not be just laying around hanging there, but on the same token, I am monitoring the Discord channel much more closely than I have in the past, daily. And you'll be seeing more and more of me in there. Dave Rush is working hard to create the Discord channel is probably our more combined way of doing things, more of our think tank area. And for good reason. I mean, the Discord, for one thing, allows you guys to respond back in real time other than through a chat window. Mr. Derby, Dave Rush, can you help with a invite for Mr. Derby to the Discord channel, please? There you go. Mr. Derby, you got it right there. Please jump aboard with us. Especially now, these first few weeks, where we're still kind of trying stuff out here, folks, and what is the structure that we want on the Discord channel, and how is that going to manifest? So, Baptized, do you prefer Bridge Network or NAT on Oracle VirtualBox? It depends what I'm doing. If I have one individual system, let's say I'm trying to teach myself a new version of Ubuntu. In that case, I'm going to spin it up in a VM, and I'm almost certainly going to just bridge it, because I'm not interested in doing anything with the networking. You understand? I want it to be on the internet so I can mess with whatever I want to mess with, download software, whatever it might be. But I have no interest in the networking stuff. Now, if you were to say to me, okay, well, Mike, now you want to start playing with some type of networking stuff, Active Directory or something like that. In that case, I'm either going to use an internal network or a NAT network, depending on what I want to do. I'll use an internal network if I'm completely disinterested in being on the internet. There's a lot of times, especially when you're working with devices that want to phone home a lot, making them set up at a non-connected network can be very interesting. In that case, I use an internal network. If I need to have some control over IP addressing or something like that, then I'll use a NAT network. It's really just a matter of what I'm doing. So I can't say which one do I prefer one way or the other. It's just a matter of what I'm going to be doing at any given moment. Yeah. It gets frustrating, man, guys, especially because I've been sitting on this for a few days. It's like, man, because, it seems to me to be such a perfect thing from an instructional standpoint to have virtual networking work, and it should work. And I get so frustrated. I keep pushing. You're the only guys who see me push this, for the record. I don't do this with paying customers. I mean, I don't do unpolished stuff outside of this very small think tank of people whose opinions I trust and adore. But this is something that's frustrated me for years, and it was hard for me to sit here and tell you guys this is probably not ready for prime time, because it sure felt like it was this time. Could I make it work? One more time, guys. I can make it work. But it becomes so ugly and so confusing that the labs, when I have to be sure to do these 30 discrete steps before the lab begins, I'm losing something. It's no longer a good instructional tool. One more time. OpnSense is just fine in a production environment, and I've used it many times, primarily as a firewall more than anything else, and it's worked fine. I just feel that I pushed it a little bit harder than I would normally want to do it. Well, Andre, I'm glad I stayed in the thing. Do you prefer bridge network? No, I'm not running for president. I'm running for mayor. I had a blast over the weekend, though, on Saturday. Houston's art car parade. I like to consider myself somewhat conservative, but I'm actually a lot more liberal than I make it out to be. So it's fun when I get to hang out with hippies and other groovy liberal people. And at the art car parade, there's lots of them. And I had a blast. This time just sitting in my lawn chair, enjoying my adult beverage and watching 230 different kind of art cars go by. It was a lot of fun. But then by Sunday, literally the only thing I did on Sunday, I never even left the second floor of my house. I had company, thank goodness, who was able to grab the Uber Eats. Like, I'm not moving at all. And it was glorious. What is OpnSense? Baptize, do me a favor. Here, Baptize, look this up. There, just like I typed it, Baptize, check it out. It is a software firewall, and it is good stuff. Yeah, throw it on the floor, then it can't fall. Yeah, that was just my Galaxy phone dying. So, yeah, and it's I just can't quite want to tell you. All right. Well, don't talk about it anymore. Now you're just embarrassing me. Yeah. It should work. It should work. What happened last? I don't want to know. Well, don't even look it up. Do me a favor. You're going to make me more red in the face than I am by default. Mom's, good to see you. MAMSD. You need a vowel in there somewhere, man. I need a Midwestern girl. Is any Midwestern girls volunteering? Patricia's married. She's no good, man. Andre's gorgeous, but he's a dude, and I just don't play for that team. Tolowitz all the way in Hawaii, and he's a dude. Okay. We'll figure it out. Mr. Derby, Do you have an L3 switch you could up front and allow the switch to do the routing, correct? Yeah, I could do that, but again, I'm still stuck doing the same configuration that's frustrating me so much. Like, let me give you a great example. Is like on OpnSense, you have to turn off the firewall, establish your actual routes, and you can't use some generic like everything through route. So I don't want to go into this in too much detail, but you have to go through and configure, like, say I'm going between 192.168.10 and 192.168.11 networks. I have to set both of those up individually. And in this case, we're just talking about two LANs separated by a simple software router, okay? So if I did this on a real Cisco router, I wouldn't even have to configure anything. It would literally, the Cisco router, once it plugged into the two other networks and I gave it IP addresses, it would assume that it is the gateway for those two IP addresses and would automatically configure all the routing, automatically. That's kind of an important thing because most hardware routers do that. If you have a directly connected network ID, well, let's rephrase it. If you have more than one directly connected network ID, physical routers will, for the most part, they may put in an "Are you sure?" but they will, for the most part, recognize it and automatically update their routing tables to show that. And OpnSense wasn't doing that. It was weird. Again, did I figure it out? Yeah, I figured it out. But I don't want to do 7 or 8 BS settings before we get to the one that actually makes sense to you guys. Especially if I'm trying to teach static routing, the last thing I want to do is go through all that. To be honest with you, I probably just could have used the default route functions. I literally could have taken a copy of Ubuntu, got to a command line, and did an IP route add, and just added manual routes to the devices. Phew. That actually would have been a good idea. But that still wouldn't get me past the other issue. Then I'd have to be setting up, IP tables for some of the firewall functions. Yeah, it didn't work, guys. It added too much complexity. Sheila Jackson Lee, our local congresswoman, is running for the mayor of Houston. Say it ain't so, Dave Rush. Just allow firewall to do the firewall. VLAN's off the switch. Mr. Derby, I could do that. I absolutely can. In fact, what I just described using IP route, where I could completely separate the more core routing stuff from firewalling, and then just leave OpnSense purely for the firewall. But I don't even want to talk about firewalling that much. I mean, my biggest thing was to just, I wanted people to get more comfortable with DHCP, and a couple of things like that. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. All right, guys. So anyway, you guys want to know what's happening? All right. If you really want to know what's happening, type in, "Tell us what's happening, Mike," and I'll let you know what's happening. If you guys actually want to know, it's a big deal. No, nobody wants to know. Oh, okay, I guess all right then. I'm going to need a picture. Hang on. Let me pull up a picture. I'm pulling up a picture just for you guys. Well, those are not good pictures. All right, you guys ready? Okay, here we go. So I don't know if you guys know, but I've been dating Melissa Bestick for a long time. Melissa's an engineer at NASA, has been for 20 years. She brews beer. She's a belly dancer. She's a costume cosplayer with me. She runs marathons and does triathlons, and we've been dating for about 12 years. And so I finally said to myself, I'm not having the lifestyle isn't doing it for me. And I told Wissa, I said, we ought to get married. So that's an older picture of me and Wissa Bear. But yeah, I have proposed to Melissa Bestick of League City, Texas, and she has said yes. We're not in a big panic as to exactly when this is all going to happen, but sorry to all you single gals out there, but Mike Meyers is off the farm. Surely I got a better picture of Wissa than that one. Oh, I have a completely legal, street legal, and an acceptable picture of her, and she would kill me if I showed it. Here's Wissa in her Russian costume. So yeah, guys, it's official. Mike Meyers is getting hitched. We haven't set a date or anything yet, but yeah, it's happening. Can you believe that? Will I be running marathons and triathlons too? I absolutely will not be. No way. Yeah. Yeah, so what do you think of those apples, huh? After, last time I was married was 2004. So almost 20 years of happy bachelorhood out the window. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, Dave, don't go advertising it to anybody. It's not top secret, but the Total Seminars people can figure it out on their own. Honeymoon in French Polynesia. No, I think we're gonna honeymoon gag. Where would I honeymoon? I don't know. I haven't even thought that far. Probably on a cruise ship or something. Yeah. So anyway, that's about all I got today. So yeah, I'll have Patricia, I'll have pictures of the ring for you coming up soon. You can check them out. Let's just say she's getting a whomper. That's all I've got for today. I am in my soul never going to give up on virtual machines as network training. I've given up on OpnSense, but I am looking at some other tools, just for the record. I mean, people have to learn about this stuff no matter what. And man, I really thought I had it this time, guys, you know? Thought I had it. And it's again, it's not a matter of I can't do it. I can do it. But you get so lost in the miniature that it no longer becomes a good training tool. And I don't like that part. Cuba, I've been thinking about Cuba. Do I like Vert Manager? Never even heard of it. Let me look up Vert Manager. VIRTMANAGER. What is this? Virtual Machine Manager. Because I use virtual machines really only as a training tool. We do have virtual machines at Total Seminars, but they are for the most part just a few, and we're very mom and pop about them. So I don't need this level of tool set. We're running ESX at Total Seminars, so we have all the tools that come with VMware. But this is a very cool tool, and Mr. Darby, thank you for bringing this to my attention. I will check it out. Is it free? Yum installer, okay. Very cool. This looks similar to the tool that's built into VMware, the VMware Console Manager or whatever the heck it's called. I'm sure it has more features than that. I'll be checking it out. Toluit, do the wedding on Oahu. Toluit, that might be the one things we could actually pull off. I haven't been in Hawaii in 15 years. I will. Oh shoot, Toluit, I can give you a tour of Pearl Harbor. Although I haven't been there since the Missouri got parked in there. So it's maybe more like 20 years now, I guess. But yeah, hey, Techie Tommy, you showed up too late, man. But yeah, it's getting hitched. What do y'all think about that? I'm 61. My crazy party days are over. Don't say that in front of Miss Wissa. She wants me to keep partying. She just wants me to party with her. Yeah, so. All right, guys, I'm out the door here. And y'all have a great one. I will see you next Monday. Please watch for me. Patricia, I love Florida. I love everything about Florida. Well, I'll be back on next Monday. We'll come up with something. I promise it'll be interesting. And I probably want to do something which I can do one. You know what I'll do? We could probably do routing tables. I think it's time for a good refresh on that. We'll bring that up to speed. Otherwise, make sure you're on Discord, folks. You're going to start seeing me more and more on Discord on the Total Seminars channel. Be sure to check me out and don't miss me, all right? So I'm out the door. Until then, this is your Uncle Mike saying bye-bye. Bye, kids.